The Boston 235 series will be a journal of the newest evolution of my fitness. I'm throwing more variables and adaptations into my training than I ever have into a new marathon training block. This time goal will ask me to partake in things I'm not entirely sure I've grasped yet, but I'm ready to go to war. And it all starts with an easy run on the treadmill. Why the treadmill, you ask?
Because it was negative 12 degrees on my first formal run of the 12-week Boston block. It's cold.
And honestly, I'm not ashamed. I'll be here for the next 3 months. Except it won't be here.
It'll be here once the treadmill I ordered gets here. It's a stupid joke.
But hey, come here. There's a lot to catch you up on since I've been gone. Insert Kelly Clarkson. Since you've been gone. Why does my brain do the things that it does? I have 7 items to address, and I'm just gonna go down the list. 1, this episode kicks off the series Boston 235. So pretty obvious what the time goal is gonna be, except it's a little bit deceiving. I wanna go under 2 hours and 35 minutes in the marathon, Boston Marathon, Monday, April 15th, 2024. Saying it out loud, digital diary, putting the goal out there, and it's horrifying, like it always is. This is 5 minutes and 54 seconds per mile, and the K equivalent is 3 minutes and 40 seconds per kilometer. Is cooking. Move! Considering Chicago, I averaged 6:05 per mile. It's quite a substantial change from just, 3 months ago. By the time I raced this 6 months prior. It's hot in here. I need to take this hoodie off. Now, if you didn't hear, I kind of mentioned this in passing in a video before CIM, but I am now a BPN athlete. So BPN is going to be supporting all of my running efforts this year. I'm incredibly excited about it. During this entire series and moving forward, you can use my code Floberg to get 10% off anything BPN related on their website for supplements or gels or whatever. But with that, with being a BPN athlete, I am now coached, and BPN's coach is Jeff Cunningham.
Going to the deepest, darkest recesses of their soul, and they're running like gosh darn monsters. Let's go!
That guy. I'm so excited. He is an absolute firecracker, and it's been nothing short of that in communicating with him so far. Just like him sending me DMs all fired up just for like a run I go on during the week. It's incredibly motivating, and it's already drastically changing my approach to day-to-day and week-to-week training. Once I get to 0.5 in these 7, I will kind of break down Coach Jeff's approach versus what I've been doing the past 2-3 training blocks, how different it's going to be, and who I'm going to partner up with to attack that goal. 0.3, I've been keeping up with baseline fitness. I took a week off after I raced CIM and ran the 246 there. Not my best, not my worst. And just took a full week off and then started slowly building mileage back up to around 50-55 miles a week. So if you look at my Strava chart here, you'll see each consecutive week I was climbing 3 to 5 miles per week to get to just this last week, my first week of Boston training, right around that 60-mile mark. A lot of easy running with a couple workouts sprinkled in here and there, some lactate threshold work, some VO2 max repeats, but really nothing crazy. I wasn't doing any like marathon paced long runs or anything like that. I don't think I even went over like 14 or 15 miles for any individual run. And I'm glad I did, because I feel like I might have toyed with potentially injuring myself if I jumped in it too quick. So I was really proud and happy of that slow build back up to that first 60-mile week. But outside of getting a new treadmill, check out the other side of my gym. I got a squat rack. I went all out. I bought a full squat rack. I got a 265-pound set of weights, and I have kettlebells as well. So we have flooring in there. I have virtually everything I need to be strength training in my garage. So I'll be canceling the expensive gym membership. RIP to all of the it wasn't free childcare we got there. But my wife and I are going to be finding out ways to make it work where she can even do workouts in the gym, and I can get my strength and conditioning done in there as well. Steven, my friend from my studio, is going to be hopefully coming every Friday, and we'll be able to film and photograph content in there as well, which he has been doing with BPN already. All of my creative worlds kind of colliding. It's really exciting, but I've just slowly been getting into it. I have a friend, Pete, who's a strength coach for runners based in Europe, who has been setting me up with some information, which sorry, Pete, I haven't really gone through all of that yet, but just from his baseline recommendations, going through 3 sets of about 6 reps per set on, deadlift and squat, and I'm throwing some bench and curls, barbell curls in there as well, and also doing some kettlebell lunges and some core stuff just with planks. And I've been developing sort of what I think is adductor tendinopathy, which is your groin basically on my right side. And so I've been doing an exercise called Copenhagen's to deal with that. Very similar to my posterior tibial tendonitis, which I have in my right ankle. I'll just want to be keeping up with strength this entire block and finally committing to it. And it's been going well so far. I've been maybe in the gym 2 times a week the past few weeks, just slowly again getting into that like mileage as well. Not putting a ton of weight on the bar, but just getting into the right form. Not wearing running shoes while I squat was something everyone roasted me on, and the story I made about it. Just small things like that where it's like, okay, I don't want to injure myself. I don't need to be putting too much weight on too soon. And the truth is, I just want to get huge. Just kidding. So I'm very excited to see what that does to me, how it changes me functionally as a runner. Maybe I won't really notice much of it at all, but something that I struggled with in Chicago was by mile 15, 16, I was dealing with groin cramps. And I think my salt intake was fine. I didn't think it was an electrolyte issue. It was a strength issue. I think that my legs and my groin, they just weren't strong enough. And I'm excited to incorporate this differentiation in the training and the strength and conditioning to see that I'll be able to maintain an even faster pace at 5:54 a mile for a whole marathon with stronger legs, with a stronger core. That, and combination with all of the supplements that I'll have at my disposal now and a formal coach, it's going to be wildly different. I'm incredibly excited about it. Number 5, you've seen him on the channel before. My friend Clark, who lives in Chicago, also has the same goal as me for Boston, a sub 2:35 marathon, and he's also coached by Jeff. So we're basically going to be lining up every single week in these 12 weeks leading up to Boston. So there's going to be plenty of workouts that we're doing together. We're texting each other on a daily basis to keep up with, what's going on and how we feel in each run. And I think that's just going to progressively become more and more as our workouts line up. I'm kind of just getting eased into Jeff's model and he's more acquainted with it. So we're not doing the same exact thing right now, but I imagine by the time week 4 or 5 rolls around, we're going to start getting just on the same rhythm, same volume, same intensity, so that we show up to the start line really in the same exact shape. And then we finally get to duke it out, I feel, with both of us primed and ready for a peak race, which is also really exciting because he mopped the floor with me at CIM. All right, so training will look different this block than it has in the past. I was going off of Advanced Marathoning, the 3rd edition of it, and that has a lot of lactate threshold work in the first half of the block and a lot of VO2 max work in the second half of the block, along with volume, but they really emphasize the long run having marathon paced miles in it. If you've been watching my channel, you watched the whole Chicago series, you know all this information. That's what I preached, getting into that kind of shape. And it clearly it works. But mentioning that to Jeff, he's like, that's very different than how I do things. So I'm really excited to see a different stimulus happen with me with something entirely different, a different approach. But with that, we're still going to be doing tons of volume, more volume than I ever have. I think we're probably going to be getting up to 90-mile weeks, maybe even 95 miles to really push the needle to get us into that sub 235 shape, along with midweek workouts, which are going to be incredibly intense, but I feel like somewhat comparable to the long run workouts I was doing in the FITS plan before. But time will tell because they aren't the long runs. And really we won't be doing long runs until the end is the impression I have. I think the key difference between the Fitsinger plan and Advanced Marathoning, the book I was working on before, in the workouts, a lot of those workouts had lactate thresholds, 5 to 7 miles of continuous pace, or VO2 max at different distances, 600 meters all the way to 1200 meter repeats, but it would only go to 6 reps. With Jeff, he already made it very clear that my Wednesday workouts are going to be high in volume. A lot of them are going to touch, up to 15, 16 miles in the middle of the week. And we're going to be targeting 10 to 12 reps of different distances and whatever intensity that is. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge of that, but I know it's going to be incredibly hard to get adapted to that. He's not throwing me in that right away. He's doing a lot of fartlek work right now. If you don't know what fartlek fartlek means. It's just a Swedish word for speed play. And so I'm doing a lot of like 1 minute fast, 1 minute off, 1 minute fast, 1 minute off. Like this week, this coming Wednesday, I'll be doing 10 times 1 minute on, 1 minute off. And it's not sprinting, it's just moving quickly. Maybe around 5K pace is what I'll target, which for me is like 5:15, 5:20 per mile. So I'm just getting the legs moving again before I go and do one of these monster workouts, just to make sure that I'm easing my body back into the volume and intensity. Obviously, I'm an open book, and all of this is going to be, showcased on the channel as I go. If you follow me on Strava or my Instagram, it's gonna be interesting because Boston, like changing all these things is, I feel like there's gonna be no one thing that really gets me fitter and hopefully gets me a massive PR, but potentially all of these things combined. And one thing that has been so different for me so far this training block is that something switched within me the past few weeks of being intentional with keeping my life and my work and the house clean and clutter-free and organized. So I've been like doing dishes every single night and having a clean kitchen in the morning, but with that as well, just to like change the mental landscape of the chaos that I wake up to. Every morning on my morning runs, which I did 6 out of the 7 this last week in the first week of the block, I have laid out my clothes on the floor and I've prepped my breakfast and my G1M before every single run to just be consistent and to have something to wake up to first hold me accountable. So when my watch alarm goes off, keep my phone out of the room, but set my watch alarm to wake me up. I know that stuff is sitting in the other room. I prepped it the night before. I took the 20 minutes to go lay it all out and make sure it was all there. So I need to get up because I did that. But then also it actually kind of makes me excited to get up because like, wow, I have that food to go eat and everything is prepped for me. I've been grinding the coffee pre-ground to like get it ready to do my pour over and drink that cup of coffee. So I have a little bit of time to take a dump before I go run. Like it's just all these points of intentionality. It's got me out of the door so much easier and in arguably the hardest time in Chicago to run because of the temperature. So I'm excited to continue to do that and see how much it helps my consistency this entire block. I'm really kind of making it a goal outside of injury or sickness that I hit every single day of this 90-day block. Finally, my dude Cyrus, Florida resident, is moving up to Chicago and he's gonna be my new part-time employee, shooting, editing, and helping with the Boston series moving into the rest of this year. He helped me with all the coverage at Chicago Marathon, so I'm very excited for him to get here. He's gonna be really close to the studio and we're gonna be working side by side on a lot of projects. So just really pumped for that to happen, get me more consistent on this channel again, hopefully very regular on this series and other stuff throughout the year. So be looking forward to that. And the truth is I haven't been very consistent on YouTube for that reason, not having somebody to help me with the production of all this stuff with all the things that I juggle. But I'm very excited to move into that. I wanna just catch you up on really the last 7 weeks since CIM and what's been going on. As I mentioned, I was climbing that hill of volume again. 41 was that first week after the off week, 46, 47, 50, 55, and then last week, 60 miles. And I just want to break down what that first week looked like so you can kind of see how I'm getting eased into the formal Boston plan. So this was the first formal week of training. It started with a treadmill run of 8, as I featured in the video, and nearly dropped my GoPro like an idiot. So that was just 8 miles at around 7:30 pace. Easy pace now for me is kind of blowing my mind. Like heart rate with my Coros armband, like I'm staying in the 140s, even down to like low 7s per mile, which is really crazy. And then my fitness has really carried over from last year, and I know it's only going to get better throughout this block. So I'm gonna be aiming for a lot of my easy recovery runs to be anywhere from just over 7 flat all the way up to 8 minutes based on how I feel and what I feel like my body needs for that easy run. Another 8 easy the next day, right around 7:30 pace again. And then the first fartlek workout, which was 6 miles total, so not a ton of volume, but I was going, I think 20 seconds on. Yeah, so it was a 1.5 mile warm up with 4 100-meter strides, and then 8 times 30 seconds fast with a minute. I actually ended up doing a minute easy when I was supposed to do a minute and a half easy. So nothing crazy, but I was like maxing out the treadmill at 12 miles an hour, which is around 5 flat mile pace. Maybe a little too quick. I think I was just excited to get back into a workout, but that felt really, really good. Felt great to get the legs moving. And then this week, very similar, as I mentioned, the 10 times 1 minute, doing more fartlek work. So after that fartlek on Thursday, I decided to run outside. The reason I was on the treadmill most of the week was like negative Fahrenheit, just awfully cold. I decided to go out because it was like 16 degrees, and I ran 9 easy throughout the suburbs, just on the streets. It's very sloshy, snowy, so just trying to be super careful. That's another thing, is I just don't want to get injured. I don't want to slip in some ice and crack my head open or something stupid like that. Next day was another easy 8, more towards the 8-minute per mile range. And then coach had me do 7 miles with surges. So 5 miles with 2 20-second surges. That was 10 reps total of 20 seconds. Still went quick again, 11.5 to 12 miles an hour on the treadmill. And then closed it out with a 14 mile. He prescribed 13 mile, but 14 mile long run, which I'll feature here at the end. Probably went a little too quick, but I think I was just really excited to close out the first week and run the first half of Chicago Marathon course.
Live here. If I were you, I would have said the same thing. If I were you, I would have said the same thing. It's not face edit, weekly doc appointments.
All right, Boston 235, it's happening. If you want to keep up with everything outside of these YouTube videos, you can follow me on Strava at Floberg Runs and Instagram at Floberg.runs. I will catch you out there the next time Floberg runs. See you there for episode 2. Bye.